Okay, so real quick, is Ed Gamester your real name?
Do you want this into the microphone?
Yes, please.
Yes.
It's your real name?
That's my real name, yeah.
I'm thinking about calling this video an interview with a real-life superhero or superhuman something or other, because there's just like a million things that you do, and I don't know how you have time for any of it. So just real quick, would you mind listing some of these things that you are a part of or that you participate in?
Yeah. It feels like fewer things these days because some of the projects have grown more quickly than others. But generally, yeah, I am a wrestler, primarily with Lucha Britannia, as we're doing this evening. I'm also a stunt performer for TV and film, an actor for the same. I run a theatre company called Mythos, or the Mythological Theatre, that produces fight-orientated theatre shows. I used to compete in strongman, which was essentially my training for the rest of it all. For a long time, I had a band that I fronted around these areas as well. It feels like a lot of things at once, but essentially they're all methods of storytelling using sort of high drama.
Well, that's good, because that leads to my next question. Like, what was it that inspired you? Was it something from your childhood?
You mean to get into performing in general?
Like performing in general. Like, what is it that inspired you when you were growing up to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up with wrestling. That was the main thing. I grew up with mythology and wrestling, and as far as I could see, they were the same thing.
Cool. So, like, real quick, how old are you? Because this will, because like first of all, like you've done a lot, right?
I've done a bit.
You've done a bit, right? But like also like this will tell us what era of wrestling we're talking about.
Oh, I'm 36, so the 90s. I grew up with WCW Nitro. I grew up with the NWO Invasion. And I grew up with the Attitude Era of Raw.
Also,
so
of course, like that's
a good time.
It was the best time.
Yeah,
like the golden age.
Many people would say that. Most of the people who say that were the ones who lived through it. Yep. So I can understand why they'd say that.
Yep.
So I grew up with that, and I think I just loved the idea that, like you say, you could be like a real life version of the things that you see on TV, of the heroes that were on Cartoon Network.
Because during that era as well, that was like the biggest personalities.
Yeah.
Like the biggest like characters.
Well, it was a good combination of not just being ludicrous over-the-top wrestlers, as it was like in the 80s, or like real, as it was before then, but it hadn't moved all the way into like sports entertainers, where it was a whole different thing. It was the ultimate combination of over-the-top characters that were like superheroes, but just real enough that you felt like you could be one of them. You know, you could be part of the NWO. Everyone wanted to be part of the NWO. You know, I would spray paint my own T-shirt to be part of the NWO.
like rip open a T-shirt and it's part of like a club.
You just do that at school, right? What happened in the 90s was like, hey, you can do this. And it turns out you can, but you have to.
And so like, okay, I know like that's a wrestling thing, but like, do you feel like it was like that with other things as well, like in general? Like, did you grow up in kind of like a supportive environment where like you were encouraged to like be creative or?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
From a family point of view, I grew up with the most supportive family you can ask for. I also grew up in a house of 80 people. I grew up in a boarding house. My parents ran the boarding house, so I lived there full time, but it was a boarding house for kids at the school. So I grew up surrounded with people all the time, but also with the facilities available at the school. So I grew up with gyms and training centers and crash mats and stuff that other kids could only dream of, really. The downside was I had to live in a school, which was difficult.
But you could like slam your mate whenever you wanted to.
All day long.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
it was like
fantastic.
a combination of Harry Potter and The Witcher as a terms of an upbringing. It was like living in a magical school where people just want to teach you to fight and perform.
Awesome. That's like... That explains a lot about you, I think.
I think so. And I think it explains also what I do now in terms of running Mythos as a theatre company. It's about trying to recreate that experience for other people. Most people don't get the opportunity to perform as much as they should do. So I'm trying to generate opportunities for people to perform more because I wish I'd had that. But
Okay, I'm just gonna like summarize this real quick because I feel
Yeah.
like you were very modest at the start when you said that you don't do that much anymore. Da, 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 da. Can we just list some of the things? So,
well, yeah, no, I won some strongman competitions when I was competing. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that's pretty impressive already.
It was good. I was a lightweight strongman. People didn't believe I was a strongman because I'm small. But there's divisions of strongman, and I was a lightweight strongman. But I was quite good. Yeah, I was quite good.
So like you also a musician.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not a great musician. I'm a singer. I'm not the best singer in the world, but it's not about how good a singer you are. It's it's a lot about being a frontman, which is essentially being a focal point of energy, which is what everything is involved.
Yeah.
Even if you're competing, you can compete better if you are comfortable being the center of attention in front of crowds, right? So if you look for a linking factor between all the different things that I've done, it's not being the center of attention in like an attention-grabbing way, but it's being comfortable under pressure.
As a performer,
Yeah.
like yeah.
But I think a lot of life is performing. Like you might go out and lift a stone off the ground in a competition, so you're not like performing Shakespeare, but it's the same experience in the moment. Is there's a lot of pressure, everyone's looking at you, and you need to get it right.
Yeah, you're gonna nail it. Gotta nail it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure you've written you wrote some stuff as well. You wrote some mythology stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I've got some books.
Yeah,
that
some audio books. Like this is the thing, because I like like just like he's singing a song, and then he's narrating his own audiobook, and then he's putting on his own theater production, and then he's wrestling, and then he's also an actor and a stuntman. Does this sound like a lot yet?
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot when you list it like that. If you break it down into different expressions, it sounds like a lot. I think it's never felt like that to me because they're all the same thing, which is like giving life to whatever's going on in my head. So it might be, I might have to sit and write it. I might have to say it into a microphone. I might get on stage and perform it. I might write it into a script and give it to other people to perform. Or it might simply be a case of expressing it through sheer physicality of performing like a feat of strength or like in a competition. It's all the same thing, which is getting whatever's in here out there. So I don't feel like I do a lot. I feel like I live every day and I do the same thing, which is express something. I just have multiple ways of expressing it because the world does not give you ways to express. You have to make them.
Awesome. That's an awesome thing to say, especially because my next question is, what advice or what would you say to someone who's like an artist, who's trying to make it or express himself in a way which hopefully he can make a living out of?
Well, step one, don't make a living out of it. But this is probably the worst advice because I'm sure this is the opposite of what all the Instagram gurus say. But don't make a living out of it because otherwise you'll always be looking at it as a way of making money. And it's not ever the best of anything that makes money, necessarily. It's the most profitable of something that makes money. And normally for something to be profitable, you have to compromise in all kinds of different ways in the quality
the compromise, of course.
Yeah. So if you're up and coming, the one thing you shouldn't do is compromise on the quality of what you do. If you're up and coming, do the thing the best you can possibly do. Because then one day you might get the opportunity to compromise on that to make money. But if you start compromising it on day one to make 20 quid, you're never going to be good enough to ever be paid enough to be worth compromising what you do.
Oh, well, this is it. Like, this is why, like, the whole working for exposure is...
This is nonsense. You have to take the knocks and do the worst jobs or the unpaid jobs to learn how to do the thing. So step one, is don't think of it as a way of making money because that's a way to set up to fail, I think. The second one is be honest about how good you are. If you're good, don't take free jobs because you're too good for that. If you're not good yet, take some free jobs to learn how to do it. There's nothing like embarrassing about that. That's how you learn. We don't live in a world where people will pay you to learn to be a performance artist. They don't have the money and they don't have the interest. You will learn yourself to be a performance artist, and sometimes that involves doing stuff you don't want to do to get the jobs. Then when you get good is when you have to cut off and be like, now I need paying for what I do. So then the third piece of advice would be bet on yourself, because no one else is going to. No one's going to pluck you out of nothing and say, here's all the money and opportunities you need. You need to make the opportunities for yourself, even if that involves turning down like better paydays or better like exposure opportunities. Sometimes you need to be like, nah, I have to take control of the opportunities that come in. That will always be useful when you're dealing with agents, when you're dealing with people who tell you they can get you work. They can get you work, but will they? it's always whatever you can do to invest in yourself and your ability to generate your own work will always be more valuable than who you know. You know, and what butts you have to lick. Like all of these industries will tell you, go like kiss some ass and you'll get ahead. And it's true. But like you're not getting ahead because you're good, you're getting ahead because people are putting you ahead. And I think one of the biggest problems that performers have in every industry is they have FOMO and they have imposter syndrome and they don't think they deserve to be there. If you've worked your ass off for years, you've taken every opportunity that comes your way and you've grafted to make yourself the best you can be, you never feel like an imposter because you know you can do it and you know you deserve to be there. And the day you look like across the ring or across the film set working with someone else and you think, I'm not sure I'm good enough to be here, that can only happen if you know you've not done the work to be there. And if you have, get on with it, because you deserve to be there. That's why you're there. That's the difference between being given jobs and making jobs. If somebody gives you jobs, you're relying on people to give you jobs. If you make jobs because you're good and you're hustling, you will always be in control of how much work you have, right? And it'll be none to start with, because how could it be? But every one job you get yourself will turn into two. Every one job someone gives you might not turn into anything at all, because why would it? It's up to them, not you, if that makes sense. Yeah. If I can help anyone with anything, it's that I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but the difference is I do what I say. So if it's working for me, hopefully that means it is the right thing to do. It doesn't mean it'll work for everyone, but I'm not someone who says one thing and does another, and then you can't understand how we ever got anywhere. Not that I've got anywhere yet, but if I do, it'll be because I fucking did what I said I was doing.
I do want to wrap this up by talking about Mythnos now.
Sure.
Just in a nutshell, how did you come up with this idea, man?
There's not really a nutshell way of doing it. I spent my whole time working in wrestling thinking these people should be doing more than just wrestling. I spent my whole time in TV and film thinking wrestling would be really good in this environment. I still see skills that wrestlers have that don't exist in other places or are rare, which is why I made a transition and started doing other things, because I realized I had a skill set that was lacking in other places. So I then wanted to use that creatively to create something that hadn't been done before. I decided to base it in Norse mythology because that's my area of like interest and passion, and because those are stories that I wanted to tell for myself. So if I could tell stories I wanted to tell, my own versions of them, using a skill set that I don't see anywhere else, to me, it ticked a whole load of amazing boxes, and it would allow me to generate work for people that I believe don't get the work they deserve. And won't, because wrestling is a huge industry, but it's not enough of it to go around. And there aren't enough wrestlers to fill it at the same time, you know? You can see the same 5 wrestlers on every frickin' show in the country, right? But at the same time, there are other wrestlers that don't have any work at all. Or the people who are on every show in the country still need 3 other jobs to get by. So it's not working in some way. Like, you're either signed and you do it full time, or you're doing this and everything else and you're still not making money. Or you're doing nothing. It's not even all or nothing. It's nothing or nothing, which is weird. So I thought if I can generate the same kind of stability that TV, film, or theater generates and share that with wrestlers, then that'll help everybody. I mean, that's back when I thought there was any chance of making any money. But, you know, you start small and you build up, right?
Why did you choose to go like a theater production way rather than just like, okay, cool, like I can make a Viking fed? Do you know what I mean? Like, how come you chose the approach of like, cool, I'm just going to go full on theater with this?
I mean, I'm an actor. I wanted to act. And no one's going to give me acting opportunities because I tell them I can act. So I decided I'm going to make a show, I'm going to act in it, and then no one can deny the fact that I can act. I'm making opportunities for myself and the other people in the cast. Instead of waiting for someone to come across my spotlight and be like, I wonder if he can act, and put me in a job, I thought I'll make the job that I want, and I'll do it. Now I don't have to wait for anyone to cast me in a Viking show, because I've made a Viking show and I cast myself in it. So, you know, snooze, you lose. And I've cast everyone else in it. Now they get cast in other stuff because people are like, oh, they can do it, right? So there's that. There's also, I'm a storyteller. I wanted to tell stories. I love wrestling. I do wrestling shows every day. That doesn't give me much of a storytelling outlet. You get to tell stories in the ring in a physical way, of course. But that's for me, limiting my own capacity to express what I'd like to express.
Especially because like usually there's a person saying this is what you're gonna do, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for, you have this however many minutes, and like
that too.
Yeah.
You have what? 15 minutes to try and do the whole thing, which is cool. That's why wrestlers are so good, because we have to do it very quickly and very well and very safely. And remember it.
Yeah.
And I've got up. Yeah. Whereas to try and do justice to like a mythos that was really important to me, I couldn't just do that. And like everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to be a series of Viking wrestling matches, just like different characters wrestling one after the other, like a wrestling show." And I was like, "Not really, because then it's just wrestling, but with characters
and that's,
that I own."
I like personally, that's why I think it's so innovative. Is because it's like this is a story, right? And then the wrestling just comes in when there's a fight scene, right? But like it's not like we're building to like a feud and a finish and then like a thing, right? It happens in a way which is like organic to the story, right?
Yes.
Like I think a lot of people can take a lot from that. Like when we were on the way home in the car from Mythos, right? I remember like CJ, one of my camera ops, he was literally just like, "Man, wrestling needs more things like this," right? Because like we had shot so much wrestling, which has like always been like a little bit stale feeling because it hasn't been like story driven. Like literally people who probably haven't even watched wrestling, right? But you get them invested enough in the story to the point where like they really gave a fuck about it by the end, you know? Like that was crazy. Like that really is crazy. They get so emotionally invested by it, and then like the huge Ragnarok at the end is like an insane payoff, right?
Yeah, but look at it as a wrestler. There's not much wrestling.
There's not much wrestling.
Mythos is the embodiment of what Mick Foley taught me as a kid, which is make people care before you break a table, right? I think the reason Mythos works is it's not about wrestling at all. It doesn't draw a wrestling crowd. Wrestling crowds seem to like it because they appreciate what we're doing in a different context. Mythos works because the story is good. The wrestling is like a nice addition. I could take all the wrestling out of Mythos and just put like stage combat in. It would still work because it's a good story and it's a good theater show. The wrestling element, I have not made a wrestling show. I've used wrestlers to do a theater show. What that means is they can beat the living shit out of each other, which actors can't and won't do. I don't have to have any wrestling in Mythos. I do because I love it, and it works really well. But the reason Mythos works, and like you said, there needs to be more of this sort of stuff in wrestling. And yeah, I think there does, and I think it would create lots of opportunities for people. I tell you now, there will be. This time next year, you won't be able to move for people doing Mythos. They'll be doing like theater shows, using wrestlers, and wrestlers doing theater, and great, and that's wonderful. It's nice to open the door. It's nice to inspire other people. Again, you can't like look down on anyone else's product. I think a lot of those shows won't be very good because I think they'll all be too focused on the wrestling instead of on trying to create stories and touch people. And then you powerbomb someone, and everyone's like, "Don't powerbomb him. I love him." You know, that's what I think. But what do I know? And I think, yeah, if people ask me a lot why I think Mythos is working, and they ask me about like the boom in the popularity of Viking stuff, and they ask me about wrestling, and they ask me about theater, and they ask me about all kinds of stuff, and what I'm doing that's new and innovative, and like it's not true, man. Like I'm not doing anything new. I'm telling stories.
A lot of people, like straight away, they were like, "This is the next evolution of wrestling," right? And then I remember seeing it, and then I was like, I understand why people think it's so innovative, right? But like really, like it's a lot more simple. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a case of like we're focusing on storytelling, right? And then the fights is just to get us from A to B, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well. So here's something that you learn when you create any kind of story-driven production, right? And why a lot of action movies is because fight scenes are tools that you use to drive plot. You can't just have a thing happens, some people fight, the stuff continues, and nothing has changed in the fight. If nothing changes in the fight, it shouldn't be there. It's a conflict resolution. It's a way of progressing things, like getting characters across, changing the dynamic, right? This is a very basic form of screenwriting or storytelling that somehow seems to get lost when you use wrestling, because all of a sudden wrestling is fighting for the sake of fighting. So it doesn't really matter if all they do is they turn up, they fight, and one of them wins and nothing's changed, because that's the point. They came to fight. Whereas if it's in a bigger context, and this is why WrestleMania always works, because it's not that the matches are necessarily any better. It's just a year of storytelling that builds up to them.
Yeah. This is the big payoff.
Things have changed by the end, but they're like, you want someone to kick out because you know what the result is if they don't. Whereas if the result is just that they lose, who cares? Right? Yeah. I mean, boo-hoo. Whereas if you know that means, they lose their wife, they lose their job, like they get their hair shaved, everything they've worked for the last year is nothing, whatever, you're invested in them. And what we do, Mythos, is hopefully people care about our story first, and then there's wrestling. I mean, the reality is you could do Hamlet. Well, there's not a lot of... there's a few fights in that. You could do any theatre show and swap out the fights for wrestling, and it'd be cool, because no one's seen that before. Any minute now, everyone will do that, and the crowds will be bored, because they're like, yeah, we get it. It's a theatre show. But instead of stage combat, you're wrestling. We get it. It won't... You can't create something like this and rely on it being unique, because it's not unique anymore. I've done it, sorry. You could do it too, and it'll still be cool, but sooner or later, people will have seen it. If you're going to do it, you need to make the show good first and know that you could take the wrestling out and people will still like it. You can't just like shine it up and say it's wrestling.
This is the thing, is like you obviously invested a lot of your time and your effort and a lot from your life into this, right? Do you want to talk about some of the sacrifices you made in order to like make it possible in general?
People don't need to know what I've been through to do this show. It's been 2 years. It's 753 days or something I've been working on this show. I haven't been paid a penny. It's not made a penny. Every penny I've made in any other job has gone into Mythos. Any income the show has made has gone only to paying the wrestlers. It's not made any money. It's not made any it's not made anything yet, but it has created opportunities and done something different and new, right? Which is great. It's also very difficult to live on nothing. So
I understand,
yeah.
However, I feel like you're wrong, because I feel it has created something. You've really made a stir, man. Like, you created a fire in a lot of people about like something very special, and like what I'm saying is like I really, really appreciate it. I wasn't even into Vikings before. Like, it inspired me to like really think about things in like a completely different way about like just storytelling in general.
Sweet, man.
I'm a fan, so I don't think.
Well, no, thanks, man. Because like I say, I didn't make Mythos to like make money. I mean, of all the things, like I said, right? Like step one, don't try and make money, right? Because you'll only end up making things. Because generally speaking, things sell. Good things don't sell because like people. There's not that many people who appreciate good stuff. There's loads of people that appreciate stuff. You want to make money, make something because there's billions of people out there who'll buy it off you. You want to make something, you know. So I didn't make Mythos to make money at all. I didn't expect it to take, hundreds of thousands of pounds and hundreds of days just to even, like, offer it up to the world. But it has done, and if, as a result, people like yourself are looking at it and feeling inspired to make something, or just looking at storytelling in a different way, just appreciating wrestlers and wrestling in a different way, re-enjoying ancient stories that are like, they're 1,000 years old and a big part of our culture, but they've been lost. All of those things, that's the value of it, right? There's then the flip side of it. People keep saying, what have you sacrificed to make it happen? I'm like, well, everything. But that's the nature of a sacrifice, right? You give up a lot of stuff that means something to you to create something that has greater value to everyone else. That's the point. So to that extent, it's working perfectly.
This was never a dream. This was never a dream of mine, because I genuinely didn't think it was possible. So.
Do you feel like this is your magnum opus? It's a big question, man. I know.
I mean, it has to be.
It has to be, or do you feel like you got something coming up next which could even outdo it?
So it's called Mythos Ragnarok because it's part of a series. Each mythos will look at a different mythology, right? Mythos Ragnarok is a Viking one. There'll be all kinds of other mythologies in a series of shows. So
which
I would say
you're not able to talk about right now, right?
I can't right now tell anyone, because otherwise I'd be blowing some secrets. But I've already written another 2, but there's no point me investing in those shows until this one is working. If this one works well enough, it will generate enough momentum and financial support that I can put the other ones on without needing to make all the sacrifices that I needed to get this one going. So, yeah, I'm putting all my eggs in the Ragnarok basket, but in terms of an opus, which is an insane like expression to ever apply to any of my like bullshit, but Mythos is a series, yeah, because that will be a series of different shows that put together. I think people will eventually look back on when I'm 70 and be like, that was quite good, actually.
I think you will as well, to be honest.
I'd like
when
to
you're
think
70.
so, dude. I think it'll put it on the map. You know, I'd like to think that one day in the pro wrestling Wikipedia, it'll be like, also there's Mythos, which was a thing, a series of shows. So, but yeah, I joked at Brighton that the show is my life and it'll probably be my death because I know where I want Ragnarok to go and I will get it there. And that's everywhere. That's in every country. That's in every theatre that I can get it into. That's in every fringe festival I can get it into. And that's not because I want everyone to see my show. It's because I know where my show goes, it will generate work and opportunities for other people who wouldn't get it otherwise. So that's a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Like,
and also for, like the fact that it's been evolving, because you sent me like one of the first versions, right?
Dude,
it had like it was completely different to the one I shot.
Yeah,
like, completely different.
It went from 2 hours with an interval and a whole different load of scenes down to now it's 70 minutes as a fringe version of the show. It's unrecognizable, right? But now it has to change again. It's always changing to suit the opportunities that come up, right? There's another, in terms of advice for emerging artists, I would say we're all perfectionists. That's not a thing. You can't get away with saying, I'm not releasing my work because I'm a perfectionist. That's not how it works. Doesn't matter how good your show is if it's not on and it's not developing and it's not performing and no one's seeing it. It's better to put it on, learn on the job, and get people seeing it and generate momentum. There's no point doing one show a year to 100 people and it's perfect. That will take you 100 years. Better to put it on 100 times and each one is, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 10 and not perfect, but everyone's seeing it and it's good enough and they're getting excited and you learn and you develop the show because then in a year's time you've got a much better show instead of the same show that no one's seen and you've never had the balls to show anybody because at the end of the day people say it's because I'm a perfectionist and I want it to be perfect. It's not, it's because you're scared and you don't want people to tell you it's not good enough. You need to get over that. Not you, Phil, personally.
No, but like this is great stuff for anybody who's watching.
I think it is. I wish people said this to me, but I've never had that really.
Yes, you're stronger than I am. My father was stronger than I am, and look where that got him. Fire and ice are divided, cert. The Aesir, get up. We stand united.
Courage. And it's something that's weirdly lacking in performance artists. You get on stage and get your butt out or fly off the top rope or whatever, but when people ask you to commit to yourself and believe in yourself and have courage in your life and your life choices, everyone folds, man.
Yeah, because it feels too intimate. You feel like you put too much of yourself out there.
Yeah.
You should do the opposite, I think.
Yeah, what you put out, you get back, right? So if you're holding a load back, it's never going to be returned to you. But yeah.
Either way, cool. Thank you very much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. I really want to encourage everyone who watches this to please see the show that's on your T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. How lame.
Great. It looks like you planned this. It's great.
It does a bit. No, I didn't plan anything. That's another one of my secrets.
Man, so you got a match to get ready
I do. I got a match to do in like half an hour, so I should probably plan it.
Thank you so much, dude.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Phil, for all your support. Both of you. All of you, like, in your crew and also in the wider world. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. Cheers. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks.